All right, folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Tornado, Tony.
And Psychic Tom Beckett with his crystal ball ready to go.
All right, well,
The first thing I want to say is, Rich, I don't know how you feel about this, but congratulations on your boy Tom Brady getting his 7th Super Bowl.
yeah.
It was a little bit of an underwhelming game. The one part of the game that really annoyed me, and I think I'm going to send a lawsuit to the center of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His name is Ryan Jensen, because when the score was 28-9 and Tampa was driving, and I looked at my sheet and I'm like, wait, I'm in a pool where if I have 5 and 9 and they score a touchdown and it's going to be 35-9, I'm going to win $250. And then the score stayed the same for the fourth quarter. I'm like, I would have won $750. But he snapped the ball about 2 feet over Brady's head, which he then dove on it. They kick a field goal, and I won $0. So I'm gonna sue Ryan Jansen for my pain and suffering.
How about the guy?
But underwhelming.
How about the guy who thought he won $750,000 or some shit because he ran onto the field, and there was some prop bet, and then the company Bovada found out about it and denied him his money.
Oh no shit! I had heard that something about he made a bet and he won money or whatever, and then I'm like, that's actually kind of genius. But now that he's not getting it,
yeah,
and probably getting fined.
Not only is he not
shit,
getting it,
not
but
genius,
they've actually done investigations and found out exactly who was connected to him, who made bets as well, and they've discontinued or canceled those bets too, and took one guy right off the platform for it. That's how bad they're pissed off. We need these guys on Wall Street, I guess. Stuff going on there. Jeez, they just shut them right off. No illegal gambling bets.
Watching I'll tell you who I give the majority of the credit to, and he's actually an alumni from Temple University in Philadelphia, was the defensive coordinator at Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles. Because Todd Bowles saw that Kansas City lost their... Yeah, he lost... Kansas City lost their all-star rock of a offensive tackle, Eric Fisher, in the championship game, and now they lost their other tackle, had to swing this guy over here and put this guard at tackle and put this backup guard in, and he stood there and said, you know what, their offensive line is vulnerable right now. I'm sending the house to Mahomes. And Mahomes has got a bad toe and he can't run as well as he normally does. Oh, I'm sending the house at him. And you could see Mahomes never got comfortable.
Yeah,
and that's what a good defensive coach does, He brings the heat when the heat needs to be brought. So then it's like, I'm talking to a lot of Philadelphia fans because we're going through all our bullshit right now. And this quarterback, they want to trade him, and Wentz was terrible this year, and what can we get for him, and this and that. I'm like, no quarterback that has a bad offensive line is ever going to be a successful quarterback. Now, you might get a quarterback that's very athletic.
Can you trade for
very well.
Can you trade for draft picks 30 years down the line? Because then he'd be worth that.
Well, I heard one team tried to offer 2 number 2s, and the Eagles are like, go fuck yourself, which is exactly what I would say. But you take a quarterback that can run the ball, athletic, like a Michael Vick or a Randall Cunningham or Lamar Jackson, something like that, and they have a bad offensive line. Well, as soon as the rush comes in, they're taking off and running, which is great. But a writer once said it worse. To be the best quarterback in the NFL is like being the best cook in the Miss America pageant. It's not why you're there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, no traditional passing first quarterback can succeed with a bad offensive line. It's fundamentals. Plus, your receivers suck, so you can't block, and your guys can't get open. Because what your quarterback's going to do is going to play like shit. And that's kind of what happened to Kansas City. They showed what Todd Bowles was doing. They said if it was third and more than 8, they doubled Tyreek Hill. If it was third and less than 8, they doubled Travis Kelce. And they boxed him out. They took away Mahomes. The guy ran 500 yards scrambling in the backfield. It was 497 yards they calculated that he ran just trying to get away from pass rushes.
Yeah, I tell you, the one guy I was most impressed with, I thought the whole defense should have got MVP if it was possible. And it would have been even better if, like, the prize was a truck again, because they all should deserve trucks. Every one of them competed at the top level, but this guy that I've been noticing in the last few weeks that convinced me that Tom Brady and the Bucs were going to win this thing, Devin White, number 45, all over the field. Every time the ball was hiked to somebody, he was on them as soon as possible. Like, any time the tackle was made, he was either the first person there or the second one there. It was just ridiculous, the amount of talent that guy has and the impact he's made on the last few games. So that was the only thing I disagreed with. I thought Tom Brady did a great job, but when I argued with a friend about that whole concept, he was like, well, you got to think about it. He's like, if there's no Brady, there's no Gronk, and there's no Antonio Brown. And there's also the coaching. The coaching that he was allowed to do. So, and there was that one play, the playoffs, last week of the playoffs, where it was fourth down, and he had his jacket put on and everything like that, and then all of a sudden, nope, I don't want to go fourth down, I want to stay here on the sidelines. He goes right back out on the field, and they score the touchdown. They get the first down, they score the touchdown. So it was just, those kind of moments, like, it only comes with experience and, leadership and confidence. Jesus Christ, that guy's got to be so confident in himself. The one thing that I thought was funny, too, that after the fact that I learned, was that Tom Brady's wife is into a little bit of witchcraft that he actually follows and believes in.
Oh, no shit, that's scary.
Yeah. Like, she tells him things to do before the games. And he does them. Like, he puts these weird stones in his locker and shit like that. It's like that. Except no chickens. No fried chickens were sacrificed.
Keep that warm. I offered Jobu, cigar, and rum.
The best was the fried chicken, right? That was a good one.
Who wants to sacrifice a live chicken? They bring him a bucket of KFC. Oh my god, that's great.
I actually referenced that movie on the blog for Science because that was like a very meaningful moment in the lawsuit against me when I got sued for $25 million. And, that scene where he's like, fuck you, Joe Boo, if you don't help me now, I do it myself. And he hits the home run.
Yeah.
So that was what I did after the big advocacy agency that I tried to get to help me out was just like, all right, send me everything. And then they rejected after I just sent them like a phone book worth of shit that took me like a week to print. They just were like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. So that was my stage where I was like, fuck you, Joe, I'll do it myself. And I did.
We were down in Clearwater 5 years ago. And we're, 5-6 years ago, we're at the game, we're having some drinks and, acting like ourselves. And we never buy seats. We always buy, standing rooms. That way we can be right by the tiki bar, which is right in left center field. And I forget, they might have been playing the Red Sox that day. They might have been playing, the Red Sox or the Yankees. I don't remember who it was. It was definitely an American League team. And we're standing there, me and two of my friends. And first inning, guy from the opposing, just say the Red Sox, hits one. And the three of us, literally, without communicating beforehand, verbatim did the one scene from Major League when the first home run of the season, the guy's like, no, too high. What do you mean too high? What the hell does that mean, too high? And then it goes, no, not too high, too hard. The other guy's like, who gives a shit? It's gone. We did that, like I said, verbatim in the outfield, and that became our running joke. It's like every time we go there, we're like, we're going to do the too high, too hard again?
That's funny.
That's why I wouldn't usually not allow that in public. Now, I'm scheduled to fly to Clearwater 29 days. 4 weeks from tomorrow is when I'm scheduled to go. The spring training, pitchers and catchers report next week. The equipment has arrived as of today. I have friends that are down there. And I have bunch from the stadium that I'm communicating with. And the one thing that if they do have, attendance this year, which they said it will be limited, it's going to be, and I'm going to actually bring this to ask you guys another question question, or your opinion, maybe Tom's psychic opinion. They said it's going to be limited, and you're going to have like
psychic
seats.
fact,
So,
right, Tom?
yeah. So if they like allow fans there, like they might say, okay, I'm buying say 3 tickets, me and 2 friends. They might say, okay, you're in section 101, row 9, seats 3, 4, and 5, and the 3 seats to your right, to your left, and like right behind you and in front of you will be empty, so that way they can space it out. That's what I'm thinking they're going to do.
Well, did you see what they did with the Super Bowl? Half fans, half cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, I saw that. Now, here is what I'm thinking. Like, I read, as I've said almost every week on this show for the last year, I read a lot of pharmaceutical bullshit, and I actually read a really interesting article today. I had some slow time at work, so I popped up some articles, and the one article I read was from Dr. Fauci. Now, I don't give this guy a lot of grief like a lot of people do, because he stepped into something a year ago that nobody had ever seen before. So people are like, he didn't know what he's doing. He's telling people, oh, no masks. No, now you have to wear masks, because he's learning on the fly too. You know, so I don't begrudge the man for that, and I listen to him. He's very well spoken. I don't agree sometimes with everything he says, but I respect him. And now today he came out and said that he is expecting, with the ramped up productions on the 2 approved vaccines, that being Pfizer and both got their first shot last week, and I guess with the other ones that are about to be approved, I know J&J should be approved in 2 weeks because they submitted it last week, and I think Astra is right on the heels of that, and Novavax is on the heels of that, where Fauci came out and said that by April it should be widely available for pretty much everybody.
Right.
So
the only problem is it going to be able to adapt to the variants? That's still the unanswered question.
Well, now here's the thing from a lot of stuff that I'm reading is, okay, so yeah, there's variants that, okay, you may still get it, but if it's, limiting the severity of it, then it's to the point of like, okay, who gives a shit? You get a cold. Right. You're not getting where you're hospitalized, and you're not getting, because a year ago they were saying flatten the curve, or whelm the hospital workers. It'll take 2 weeks to flatten the curve, which I always thought was bullshit anyway. So that's going to be the whole point of this, is to decrease hospitalizations and deaths, right? That's the whole reason to do this, if I'm not mistaken. So if you getting vaccines that even if the variants do infect you, but at a very minimal level, then it should be fine, right? I mean, that's how I'm taking it.
Yeah.
So now, if by April they think they have, widely available vaccines where, people like me can schedule appointments, and yeah, you're going to be trying to get like millions of people every day, and some are single dose, some are double dose, whatever. Now, if that's available by April, if Canelo is fighting, and I believe it's going to be May 8th against Billy Joe Saunders in Las Vegas, I believe, can fans be there?
Yeah.
Think?
I think they could be.
Okay, Tom, what do you think on that? And just
I'm still skeptical.
Okay.
And I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? And here's the thing. Right now, every what I said, what Rich said, and what you said, it's all opinion. You're like, I'm skeptical, I'm doubtful, I hope I'm wrong. Rich is like, I think we can, whatever. And I'm like trying to be the optimistic fan too. Like,
it's all just gonna go away. No, sorry, that's the Trump in me.
I'm like, I can see a path where this can happen. It's the question of, will it happen?
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
People are making fun of me, Rich.
We'll see. Anyway, we got to get to combat sports eventually here. So, We had some UFC fights over the weekend. We got to talk about that. Big announcements for Showtime and Bellator today. I'm not sure exactly what the gist of this is because it's not specific in any of the articles I keep reading, but I have seen a headline saying something about exclusive deal with Showtime. I don't know what that means. It says that a lot of their preliminaries are going to be on YouTube now, and there's going to be 4 events in April, but it doesn't specify that there's going to be no other events on no other channel. So I don't know what this is all about yet. It's kind of still developing maybe, but Showtime obviously got another streaming service in the works as well. Everybody got their own damn streaming service. Discovery Channels is advertising the crap out of theirs lately. Now Showtime Plus or whatever the hell it's going to be. They got their own streaming service, so they've obviously made the biggest investment in boxing for the premium channels after HBO bowed out, and now they're making a play for mixed martial arts, and Viacom is obviously under the same banner. Viacom already owns a big chunk of Bellator, so it's going to get interesting. Glad that's the one premium channel
I just think they made a mistake leaving when they left Paramount.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to see them because I mean I already ran the numbers on that, and fewer homes had CBS Sports, wherever they went, NBC Sports, CBS Sports.
Well, it's interesting.
Fewer homes have Showtime.
Every now and then, I mean, I'm a Showtime subscriber. I actually pay for it, unlike some of the fights I watch on streaming services. But through free streaming services, I should say. But, it's also the owner of all the Strikeforce footage from back in the day. So our guy Phil probably watches a lot of that stuff that we had on the show a while back. That does this podcast on the Strikeforce days. But, every now and then I'll be streaming through the 17 different channels you get with the Showtime package. And there's Strikeforce on in the middle of the night or in the afternoon, all different times of day. They just suddenly have a Strikeforce card on, so it's kind of cool. But obviously they want some fresh stuff too, so they're getting big into the Bellator, and we'll see how that works out. Still kind of the second fiddle to the UFC, but I don't believe Scott Coker is really trying to outpace the UFC. He's trying to do his own specialized thing. And he also does the kickboxing too, so it's very diverse. Speaking of diverse, Gina Carano, big in the news lately. Not for fighting. She's not coming back to MMA or anything like that, but she might have to because she just got fired from her day job. The Mandalorian, the series on Disney Plus, and obviously Disney deals with little kids. They're going to be very sensitive about what people put out there on social media. Look at Roseanne. What happened with Roseanne? One tweet, she's off the air. Done. It was pretty bad tweets, and she was obviously not in the best frame of mind when she tweeted it. But I guess in the situation with Gina, it was multiple tweets, it was multiple warnings, and she had just apologized for some stuff she put out, and then she did it again. So it's like she was trying to get fired here, from what I've been reading. But actually, she was just featured on Tucker Carlson. I was just watching it, and she wasn't in an interview or anything. They were just talking about the story. And there was a guy defending her from, I think it was the Daily Wire, and he just basically said, she wasn't saying that conservatives are being rounded up like Jews and killed in concentration camps, but she was saying the climate of them looking to just cancel every hardcore conservative for speaking their mind and supporting Trump and stuff like that is just getting so bad. And but you make these certain comparisons and people freak the hell out, because there's no such thing as free speech anymore. There's the speech that we allow you to spread and talk about, and then there's free speech. Real free speech. But, I mean, I just keep saying George Orwell would be looked at as a god these days if he was still alive. The stuff that he predicted, I mean, it's just like to the T, 1984 happening right now on a grander scale. But I mean, sometimes if you're in the public eye, you gotta kind of go through the motions. You gotta kind of be political, and if she wants to keep up her career, she's gonna find out the hard way that you just can't piss off that many people. You just can't do it. If you want to say that at the family dinner table, go ahead. But if you want to go out there and purposely poke the bear, it's a private industry. You're going to get fried every time, and that's the danger of it. Even though they're private, they control so much.
Remember, Rich, you can do it on the left side of the political equation. You can do just about anything. That's freedom of speech.
Right.
Just on certain opinions, and you remember that old Orwellian say that if you control what people say, you control how they think, and if you control how they think, you control how they act.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Well, it's definitely getting to be a pretty scary area with cancel culture and all that, but it just made me think, this whole Gina Carano thing, of how everybody thinks cancel culture really, came to a head with Trump, but it really was Roseanne. She got her whole show canceled, like literally canceled. They brought it back later, but I mean, for a time it was totally canceled. She was wiped out of all involvement in her own show. And I'm not defending her.
Didn't they kill her character off? I don't watch the show.
Yeah, of a drug overdose.
Yeah.
Like, just
and
erase the character.
Big thing what was her big thing? Like, what did she post that was...
It was something about comparing Valerie Jarrett to a monkey. So it was seen immediately as racist, And some people would just say a monkey as in some person that is just operating on a basic scale of intelligence, That guy's acting like a fucking monkey, Like my boss used to call Brazilians that worked for him monkeys because they could climb up ladders, It wasn't meant to be like, oh, you're a primitive beast, It was like, and just a way of describing somebody that you want to say is dumb, but you want to be creative. And it came out to be, oh, it was racist.
What's funny? Like, I used to do this at work all the time, because with me, everybody knows, like, I'm laid back and I'm funny and I joke around and I don't, like, when I was younger, I would say things sometimes, even in a professional environment, like, that were definitely, not the right things to say. And sometimes I got talked to about it, but I never really got written up for it. It was just me just being stupid and funny and goofy and whatever, and I'm like, no, you really got to learn when to be professional at work, and when, you can be whatever. Now, one of the things I used to do at my client's office up until, it was a year ago this week that I got my transfer back to the city, but I would walk in a lot of times, and now, granted, most of the office was Caucasian, so it wasn't as, but I stole a line from Chris Jericho. I've been a fan of Chris Jericho for a lot of years, and I always found him to be pretty funny. And when he was a heel at one point, like, he would run a talk show, and he'd have like this really expensive, screen, this show, whatever, and he would tell the people, like, all right, roll it, monkeys. So I would walk into the office, I'm like, good morning, monkeys.
Yeah.
Not just, just being whatever, and people were like, we're not monkeys. And I'm like, that's what you think. But other people, they knew we were just having a good old time. And like, it would do things to me and whatever. But now it's like, you think back on it, it's like, man, you say that, and the wrong person's like, he called me a monkey. I'm gone.
Yeah. Cancel culture. You're canceled. You get your Twitter shut down, your Facebook, everything. Say goodbye to your Instagram, Tony. You're a racist.
Yep. I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, no, I don't know if you noticed something the other day, but I'm surprised I didn't get a video taken down on Facebook because it could have been considered, ethnically racist. Did you see it?
No.
It was my fight with Michael Jordan.
Oh. Oh, anyway. We got to switch from monkeys to zebras because happened to catch Masked Dancer the other night. My girlfriend was over. And I knew she wanted to watch it, but I was just like, I'm into this new show, House of Cards. It's not really new, but it's old, but new to me. So I just started watching that. So I was like, I want to watch an episode of that. So anyway, I finished the episode, and then there was the end of Masked Dancer. And lo and behold, the zebra pulls his mask off, and it's Oscar De La Hoya. I was like, oh, that's convenient. There's a little thing I could mention on the radio show this week. He was one of the top 4, and was revealed at the end of the semifinals episode. So now he gets to box and see if he can come back. He actually just also made the news because he got his boxing license, his federal ID. 48 years old, last fought in 2008, and it's not really saying much because Mike Tyson...
That was not a good one.
I mean, Mike Tyson obviously looks chiseled right now, but Mike Tyson also got one, and he's a little bit older. 6 years older, so... doesn't say in the article whether it's designed to get him professional fights or exhibitions or what's going on. But with both options really available to him, he can take his pick. And actually, Tyson believes him and Holyfield, the third Holyfield fight now that's pretty much set in stone, is going to generate $100 million. Floyd Mayweather money, you might say. I don't know about that, but we'll find out. You might remember a few years ago we discussed a guy was a referee in a wrestling match, and didn't like the kid's hair, dreadlocks. Told the kid had to cut him or forfeit the match. And then he got fired.
Yeah, I remember that.
Now he is suing. Referee Alan Mahoney filed a lawsuit in Atlantic County Superior Court and filed December 18th. Names the Buena Regional Board of Education, and he wants some money there. I guess he's trying to argue that he went by the rules and shouldn't have been disciplined himself. But there's another situation where they obviously considered it racism, because they wanted to cut his hair, and that's some people don't realize that's part of people's religion. They can have different religions that governs their hairstyle. That's the age we live in. There's a lot of different situations
Rich,
out there.
I don't know if you remember this from when we were in college, and we were boxing, for the NCBA. Do you remember their facial hair rule?
No.
You could not have facial hair below them, and it was like to the sides. I guess
you know who you're asking, right?
Let's just
take a second to realize who you're asking. A guy who fought at military school.
Good point. Very good point. I guess you could have sideburns, but I guess you couldn't have those real thick pork chop sideburns where they got to your cheekbone, and you could not have any type of beard. You couldn't have I couldn't have my goatee. So if you see any pictures of me when I boxed in college, I kept the mustache, which looked like one of my creeper 70s mustaches. But I kept the mustache, but I always had to shave the beard part of it. You couldn't have a beard. You couldn't have a goatee. You couldn't have anything on your chin. It had to be clean shaven. And there were times, I've seen fighters that were literally, been up, in 2 or 3 fights, and the official would look at him and say no. And I've seen guys with their hands taped up and trunks on have to grab a razor, run to the bathroom, and shave. I've seen it. And I remember one time I was fighting down at VMI my junior year, and I'd shaved the night before, but being Italian, I have thick. I have a 5 o'clock shadow. And I remember we were away, and then we're at the physical, and the one official looked at me and goes, "You go need to shave." I'm like, "I shaved last night. I shaved it literally 9 o'clock last night, less than 24 hours ago." Guys like, "You need to go shave right now." And I was like, and I'm grabbing a razor from one of my teammates. He had an electric razor, and I'm trying to shave real quick. Dr. Cox was pissed. But now, going back to the Lock Haven show every year, obviously not this year, but I've seen, college fighters, and I guess once again it comes down to religion. I've seen many of them with on the chin, whether it's Jewish, Muslim, whatever. But I've seen people with maybe not full long beards, but definitely have.
Remember what I used to always say about Kimbo? It was part of his defense.
Yeah,
the beard. But anyway, we got a little bit of sad news this week. A couple stories of some people who died. Big star in Leon Spinks, but also we had a guy at a smaller event at a fairgrounds, a professional fighter, died. But first we'll talk about Leon Spinks, 67 years old. He was, talked about being sick in the social media circles for a few weeks now. I think he had some kind of cancer, multiple types of cancer.
Yeah, I believe it was pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic or prostate?
Prostate, yeah. Looks like. Former Marine, gold medal boxer, and once defeated Muhammad Ali. So a lot of highlights on his resume. Unbelievable guy, unbelievable fighter.
Ali is 8 for a fight.
67 years old. It's tragic. We don't know what the circumstances were as far as. Here it is. As far as his any brain damage or anything, it says he was diagnosed with brain shrinkage in 2012, a condition doctors said stemmed from the beatings he took in the ring. And in 2014, he was hospitalized for abdominal problems. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016 and finished his career with a record of 26, 17, and 3, including 14 knockouts. So, sad story there. Too young. And we had a fighter, actually, I believe, I want to say that Hank Lundy is fighting this guy next. The guy that won the fight that killed this guy in a fairgrounds here.
Holy shit.
His name, let's see. Johnson City Press article here. Roy King Jr. He died Tuesday in New York Health Facility. It was a light heavyweight fight. That can't be Hank then.
That would be Lundy then.
No. Different guy. All right, hold on, come on. All right. He was knocked down 4 times in an 8-round bout against Sino Egbeko, the Nashville Fairgrounds Arena on January 16th, 2020. Knocked down right before the final bell sounded, but got off the canvas after the fight was over and made his way to the corner, where he slumped over and was cooled down by his trainer. He later sat on a stool and received medical attention before being taken out of the ring on a stretcher and then rushed to a medical center. Suffered 2 strokes while in the hospital and never regained consciousness. He was a native of Brooklyn, New York, and had a 12-5-1 career record. He also won the WBC United States Silver Super Middleweight title by unanimous decision over the previously unbeaten Chris Thomas in October 2019. And he was the owner of Tri-Cities Boxing Club as well. Johnson City, noted for his work helping local fighters and training youth. Yeah, sad. And then we have our troublemaker of the week here, Daniel Strauss. Was the comeback fighter of the year story not too long ago in Bellator after he recovered from a motorcycle accident and won a big fight. Now he's been arrested for a domestic dispute, it looks like. And it's kind of troubling, too, because it's another stabbing, it sounds like, from what the neighbor pipes in on this story to say. His bond was put at $100,000. He was arrested, booked. Aggravated battery with a deadly weapon was the charge. Supposedly it might have been somebody he was in a past relationship with. And the person is recovering from the injuries. He was arrested in 2013 on drug charges and a charge of driving without a suspended license, or without a license, or with a suspended license, I guess. I don't know. They must have screwed up this article because it says driving without a suspended license. Well, that can't be illegal. According to ESPN. Strauss told Yahoo Sports in 2013 that another passenger in the car possessed the drugs that he was charged with because it was his car, and that he took a plea deal and was sentenced to probation when police officers said he admitted to the drugs being his. So anyway, yeah, more trouble for that guy. Speaking of trouble, Paige Van Zandt got into a lot of trouble. In the weigh-in, she choked Britton Hart pretty bad. And she immediately just got furious, and she turned to her and said, you know, you're not going to be able to do that stuff in the ring when we fight, and I'm going to kill you. And, you know, she beat her up pretty bad. But I'll tell you what. The whoever's running things over there, what is it, Damon Feldman? He's got that shit squared away, because about halfway through the fight, the free feed I was trying to watch was impossible to access. Right. It became like TNT. You no matter where you tried to look for it, you click on a link, you're watching TNT all of a sudden. And so you weren't able to see any of the main card fights. So the UFC is miles behind bare knuckle boxing, which just started last year on the blocking the free fight streams. They're doing something right. I hate to point anything out to the UFC on saving money, but yeah. Not that I don't want it to go to the fighters, but you know how they operate. So anyway, yeah. Also, our boy, former interview subject, Dat Nguyen, conquered the undefeated Johnny Bedford. And just outboxed him, I guess. 5 rounds. Pretty good show. So he got the win. It was a unanimous decision. And I didn't really get to see a lot. I saw like bits and pieces of the full card. Anyway, good couple fights that I saw. And we had some UFC fights last weekend, and pretty much turned out to be a matter of reach and technical ability on Volkov's part there. And Overeem just looked every bit his age. Looked like he didn't even really prepare for this fight. Looked like he didn't even run a mile in the last month.
Yeah, he just got beat up.
Yeah, it was bad. And he started off okay, but, Volkov is very patient. It's one thing I like about him. He's not the best defensively. Like, he's subject to a guy who has a lot of energy just bum rushing him at first and making it hard for him to set his feet and throw his kicks and throw his straight punches. But when he's firing on all cylinders and he's got his timing and his range, he is so dangerous. And he tagged up Alistair. Cut him open was throwing all kinds of different strikes and landing. Just looked great. But the guy who stole the show had to be the co-main event winner, Corey Sandhagen. And I sent this to Tony so he wouldn't have any excuse to say that he didn't see the fight. Frankie Edgar got hit with what they call a flying knee. 28 seconds into the round.
Oh my God, I saw that. Yeah, I saw you did that. Wow.
And it just hit him right on the chin. And it just, once again, reminded me of the video that I talk about every now and then of the monkeys that they did an experiment with. So they put this little motorized helmet on them, and it would turn sideways violently, and the monkeys would just pass out. And it was supposed to measure brain trauma and all this other stuff. But anyway, that's what happened to Frankie. The switch shut off, and the guy is out when they fall to the ground and their toes are like straight pointed. Not relaxed at all. He was just out. I don't know how long it took them to scrape him off the ground and get him conscious.
You know what I call that?
It was bad.
When he went face first like that, I call that the Apollo Creed fall from Rocky IV when Apollo was falling to the ground dead after Drago knocked him out. That's what I call it, the Apollo Creed fall.
Yeah, it was vicious. And the funny thing is, Ben Askren obviously was compared as the closest thing to the result there. It was like half the time, literally half the time, 14 seconds I believe on Ben Askren. It's funny. But Clay Guida also on the card, getting a much needed win. He looked pretty good. Looks very in shape and definitely better stylistically than I've seen him in a couple of his last fights. So he's putting what he needs to together. And Michael Johnson, as Tom would say, is no cheap date, so that was good for him to be the name like that. Younger guy too, known for slugging it out. But he fought a smart fight. And we had Alexander Pantoja beating Manel Cape by unanimous decision. A real barn burner of a grappling match between Diego Ferreira and Beneil Dariush. And this was a rematch. And Diego didn't really do much to improve on the first one. He got pretty beat up in the end, but he made it close anyway. One judge had it for him. We had Danilo Marquez beating Mike Rodriguez by rear naked choke. That was 4 minutes and 52 seconds into the second. Devontae Smith over Justin James by doctor stoppage, 3 minutes and 28 seconds into that one. Cal Rosa over Jocelyn Edwards by unanimous decision. And then before that, Molly McCann went down by unanimous decision to Lara Procopio. Seung Woo Choi over Yusuf Zalal by unanimous decision for that. And then the second fight of the night, Timur Valiev over Martin Day. Unanimous decision. And first fight, O.D. Osborne over Jerome Rivera by knockout. Just 26 seconds into that one. So the preliminaries start with a 26-second knockout, and then the co-main event comes in at 28 seconds. Almost all decisions between them. One TKO, one rear naked choke. Everything else is a decision. Interesting. Well, I got to use my Super Bowl money that I won. I didn't really... I pretty much broke even on my bets, but, I won a few games as far as, being in the top 25%. They give you double your money that you put in. So I put in $50. I got $40 back because I was smart enough to put Gronkowski on two teams. I didn't have a great week last week, the previous week of the playoffs. But anyway, so now I got some money to put on this weekend's UFC event here, big main event. It's a tough one to break down. We got Kamaru Usman, who, talk about cardio. I mean, whatever Overeem lacked in cardio, Usman's got it in spades. And Gilbert Burns is 19-3. He's really trying to put himself on the map here. This is a big fight for him. Just on record alone, I would want to go to Usman because he only lost once, but Gilbert's hungry, so this is just going to be just crazy. It's going to be a crazy fight. I don't know if Usman's as aggressive as Gilbert, but that could hurt Gilbert if Usman's just patient enough to make him miss and exhaust him, and then wade in when the time is right, which is what he's good at. So I don't know. I just like Usman's got more experience with the longer fights. I don't think this is going to be a quick one, so I'm going to have to go with Usman on that one. What do you think, Tom? It's your psychic mind telling you.
Well, yeah, Usman's still like a lock. I mean, I think Burns is going to make it interesting, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop him. So I would go by Usman by decision. I don't think it'll be a stoppage.
All right. And we got Macy Barber
But
coming
that's
in.
another one. I kind of hope I'm wrong with that. I'd like to see some new blood there. So
Yeah. Hopefully we get a good fight. Co-main event, we got Macy Barber, 8-1, fighting Alexa Grasso, 12-3. And then we got Kelvin Gastelum back in action. He's 15-6. Very underrated 15-6, I gotta say. Saw something today where it was like comparing all the different fighters that Israel Adesanya has faced in the last few years in the UFC, and the one that gave him the most damage was Kelvin Gastelum, believe it or not, out of all those big names that he's faced. But Gastelum's got a tough test in Ian Heinisch, who is 14-3. Obviously got a heavy win-loss ratio there. Heavy towards the win, so we'll see how that one goes. We also have Julian Marquez, 7-2, fighting Maki Patolo, who's 13-7. And big-time journeyman fight right in the middle here of the main card. Jim Miller, 32-15, fighting Bobby Green, who's 27-11-1. And that's going to be a really interesting one. Jim's usually heavy on the wrestling. Bobby's a little bit more dynamic, I think, but he's capable of making a lot of mistakes because he's got 11 losses. So who knows? Jim's kind of really towards the end of his rope, though, as far as trying to move up the rankings. So this is going to have to be a real big performance for him. He wants to stick around. Anyway, Rodolfo Vieira, 7-0, fighting Anthony Hernandez, 7-2. Bilal Muhammad, 17-3, fighting Diego Lima, who's 15-7. And Polyana Viviana, 11-4, fighting Mallory Martin, 7-3. And Andre Ewell, 17-6, fighting Chris Gutierrez, 15-4-2. And here's a lot of experience here on this undercard fight. Ricky Simon, 17-3, fighting Brian Kelleher, 22-11. Gabriel Green, 9-3, fighting Philip Rowe in the second fight of the night. Philip is 7-2. And then you got the Maverick, Miranda Maverick, 8-2, fighting Jillian Robertson, who's 9-5. And now you got to go to boxing. Like we talked about last week, there really wasn't a lot going on as far as last Saturday, but it's Saturday the 13th this week. We got a lot going on, actually. Not a lot of televised stuff, but over in the United Kingdom, we're going to start with a featherweight fight. Lee Wood, 23-2, fighting Reese Mould, who is 13-0 for the vacant BBBFC British featherweight title. And you gotta love this guy's name for a fighter, Josh Warrington. He is 30-0, fighting Mauricio Lara, who is 21-2. I don't know if he's related to Arislande. Zelfa Barrett, also on the card at super featherweight, 24-1, fighting Kiko Martinez, who is 41-9-2. That one's for the IBF Intercontinental Super Featherweight title. Let's see what else we got going And we got over in California, we got Joseph Diaz, 31-1, fighting. Oh boy, this one's going to be a tough one. Shavkat Rakhimov, who is 15-0 for the International Boxing Federation World Super Featherweight title there. And then we got Patrick Teixeira, who is 31-1 at Super Welterweight, fighting Brian Carlos Castano, who is 16-0-1. And we got Shane Mosley Jr., 16-3 at middleweight, fighting Christian Olivas, who is 20-7. That's for the vacant WBO NABO middleweight title. I don't know if that would be Shane's first title, but yeah. Big deal for him. No matter how small it is, that's a big one. Ronnie Rios, 32-3, fighting Oscar Negrete, who is 19-2, also on that card. I don't know who Victor Morales Sr. is, but Victor Morales Jr. at featherweight is 13-0, fighting Rodrigo Guerrero, who's 26-9-2. Same card. And then we got ESPN fights with Jim Comey's little brother, Richard Comey. He's 29-3. No relation. But it's fighting Jackson Marinez, who's 19-1 out there in Vegas. And featherweight's Adam Lopez. What, Tony?
Well, first of all, with the JoJo Diaz fight, I mean, he's a world champion now. Like I said, I saw him in Vegas a couple years ago. He looked pretty impressive. And then he beat Kevin Farmer. Just about a very impressive performance. I think Farmer may have gotten injured during that fight. And I know they were planning on a rematch, but it's good to see him back in the ring. And with Richard Comey, I mean, you're talking about a very tough fighter here. And like I said, I saw him in Reading a couple years ago in a fight that he lost, but on a split decision. But I want to see now how he rebounds after getting blasted by Teofimo Lopez last December.
Right. Well, so that about does it for stuff this week in boxing. Let's see if we got anything else coming up for the next couple weeks. No, I don't want to go to that. I want to go over the main page. I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, here's one. Christy Martin has a live boxing event tomorrow. She's promoting in Orlando, Florida. You can watch it on bxngtv.com. Boxing without the vowels, basically. bxngtv.com. But basically, some pretty good names. Richard Rivera, Brandon Pizarro, Michael Pierre, Sean Hempel, Shenard Bunch, Deshaun Johns, Derek Jackson, Darrell Valsaint, and more. Standing room only. But will be streamed on boxingtv.com. I just read off the names. There's a couple more, but pretty good to see her moving up in the game, doing her own training and all that, and working with fighters. And now she got her own promotion going. So, former guest of ours too. Good stuff. That was a great interview. Of course, my cats are fighting now. They want me to commentate that, I think. I'm sure you guys have seen the cat law firm guy, right? That was pretty good.
I saw those shots. I didn't see the video.
Oh my God! The eyes are the funniest because it's like the cat even looks like he's confused because of the way the eyes are moving. That was classic. Technology. Alright, well, I think that's about all for the content I have, unless you guys got anything else to pipe in. Oh, John Scully.
Oh my God, dude, we gotta get him back on. Bob, did you hear about this story?
No.
Yeah, like I said, we've had, and I know you've been on a couple times when we had Iceman John Scully, and I know he's writing a book, and it's a book that once it comes out, I think we all need to get it, because he just tells a lot of like personal anecdotes on there, and like he'll tell stories like, being then like weigh-ins and things that happen. Well, the story that he put out on Facebook yesterday was he was at his home in Connecticut, and there was a fight at I believe the Mohegan Sun, about I think back in 2005, I think he said it was. And he was sitting at home, and a couple of the guys in the press called him and said, Johnny, you going to be at the fight tonight? And he goes, no. He goes, I don't have anybody working tonight. They're like, oh, but you're not coming to the fight? He's like, no. He goes, he's like, I don't buy tickets to the fights. And then he goes, the light bulb comes on. So he runs down in his closet, and he grabs one of his cornerman's jackets. I think he said it was Lawrence Claybay. And he grabbed the bucket, and he grabbed the water bottle. And drove the 30 to 45 minutes to the Mohegan Sun, and he threw the cornerman's jacket on, and he starts running, and the people are taking the security's taking the ticket, and he's running with the water bottle and the bucket and his cornerman's jacket on, and he's up on he has his cell phone up to his ear, not on, and he's yelling into this completely shut off cell phone. No, don't go to the ring until I get there. Don't go to the ring until I get there. He goes, security parted like the Red Sea. They wished him luck.
Yeah, that actually reminded me of freshman year at Air Force Academy, when somehow I was able to retain a set of civilian clothes when all we had was, our regular uniforms, and, the closest thing we had to civilian clothes was our, workout gear. And even that had, logos on it and shit, so that was the only one with a set. So we were told by some of the sophomores that it was traditional to do a prank, the first day of formation for classes and stuff for the academic year. So this is the first time we saw the sophomores. The sophomores are fresh off their own freshman year's experience, so they don't really give them authority until the school year starts. They're not really usually involved with the freshman training over the summer and all that. So these sophomore guys come into our room, and they're like, you guys got to go steal the squadron commander's car and park it on Spirit Hill or something. So they're like, we'll tell you what it looks like, and which lot it is. You just got to go find it and get the keys somehow. So I was like, oh geez, well, he's got an exchange student for a roommate, some French dude. So I was like, well, he's probably got his keys right on his desk. All we got to do is get in there while the French dude's in there, and he's not. And the French dude won't know what's going on. I just think, one of us just get his keys because he asked for us to do it. So I sent one of my buddies to do the actual grabbing of the keys, and I went out into the hallway, and there's a payphone in the hallway, and then there's an actual dial-up phone, and there's a desk at the end of our hallway. So the payphone's in the middle of the hallway, and it has a door and everything, so you can get in the booth. So I get in my civilian clothes, I walk down the hallway and act casual. They don't know me, all know me yet, because it's before the first day of the school year. So I get into the phone booth, and I call up the main desk, and I ask for the squadron commander. So he's got to come out of his room, and when he comes out of his room, that's when my guy goes in, gets the keys, and I'm talking to the guy, trying to stall, trying to sell him the Friends and Family program from MCI, trying to pretend like I'm a telemarketer. And he fell for it for 5 minutes, and then he asked me a question I couldn't answer, and it was just all right, well, this is gonna end up in a hang-up. So he hangs up, and the guy's coming by me right when he hangs up with the keys. He's like, I got him. So anyway, we ended up spending 3 hours looking for this guy's car, and we were told it was a white car. So we looked everywhere, could not find it. So we ended up coming back to the barracks, and those same sophomores that told us to do it were playing foosball in the lounge. So they saw us come back, and they're like, well, did you do it? And we were like, no, we couldn't find the car. we looked for every white car in all these parking lots that you described, and we couldn't find it. So they talked to a couple other people. Come to find out, it's a gray car. So we had to go back down through all the friggin'... This is like 4 o'clock in the morning at this point. All the lots. We finally get the car. We drive it up. This is like supposed to be like a military base, right? We drove it right up onto what they call the terrazzo, which is right in the middle of all the barracks. We drive this guy's car, stole the guy's car, drove it up, put it on top of the hill, and then went to bed. And the next morning, we wake up pretty much to the guy screaming when he sees his car out the window on the hill. Well, yeah, it was executed at what they call the Spirit Mission. They would call all the military schools. They do stuff like that, but we were pretty good at it. We perfected it. Yeah, it was pretty nutty. I would have been a good spy, I think. Anyway. So, yeah, but we got to get John Scully back on, and we got to do a thing with him, with your psychic thing, Tom. Because I got some ideas, like, because I've been following him on Facebook for so long, like I could bring up some obscure facts about John that nobody else would know, because they haven't been following him as long as I have. And, like, I've heard him on a couple other radio shows, too, that he did, like, a year ago, and I was thinking about this idea, like, we got to have, like, Tom nail all these things on him that I know and act like it's psychic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Like, was one thing he was talking about. He doesn't like chicken wings. He hates the whole concept of chicken wings. He's just like, why don't you just buy the whole, like, chicken breast and have a meal out of it? Why do you got to, like, pick bones out of your chicken for 10 minutes to enjoy a meal? It just doesn't make sense to him. And the other thing that would be really funny is his wife doesn't like it, but he makes himself, he shakes all the time with Slim Fast. Not because he thinks he's fat, but just because he likes the taste of it. But his wife gets pissed because, there's no way he can clean up every speck of it when the powder spills. He dumps it out of the container or something and it spills. Like, he always leaves residue somewhere, and his wife gets pissed about it. So, like, little obscure things like that you just, like, mention out of the blue. Just pretend like you're getting it from somewhere. He'll be like, how do you know that? But yeah, I'll like write some stuff out for you before we do that interview. We'll get him. We'll prank him good. And I watch all the stuff that he does on Facebook. He does one of these things where he's like, we're going to have to ban this from now on. And
I love that.
Like, to talk about something that annoys him. Kind of like a Seinfeld episode, But he'll get so many people to comment.
Yeah, one of the things like it's always like, it's like, if you're over the age of whatever, you can't wear your hat anymore. You're an adult now. That was one of the things. And he goes, the difference between lose and loose. That was his one last week. He's like, you don't lose a fight. You lose a fight. But and then he's like, we have to ban girls that do duck faces in photos. It looks ridiculous. And he goes off and he writes this whole list. And then he had, like, for one time, he had this whole comprehensive list of, like, a whole bunch of shit. And then now he'll do, like, I'm adding this to the banned list. And he'll say, like, the duck lips in a picture, or the lose and loose, and
he's got a whole sitcom with his aunt.
Like that, but
his aunt that he takes around to the shopping malls all the time.
Oh my God, Aunt Fran.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a sitcom.
Like,
he doesn't want her to get her license, right?
And antagonize it.
She's got to go take her license test. So that's the funniest thing lately. He's talking about. He's like, no, she keeps mentioning the license again, and I don't want to tell her, but I need to tell her you're not going to get your license.
I love when it's like when he's always like taking her grocery shopping, and he's always like, he sets everything up. He's like, oh my God, we're doing the Aunt Fran thing. What am I going to do to her today? She's already pissed off about this.
Yeah.
Hopefully afterwards we'll get 5 guys. And then it's like a trail of comments every time. I've commented on it. A trail of comments were like, you keep messing around. It'll be Aunt Fran TKO in the second if you don't knock it off. and you keep up, you're not going to get your 5 guys. He's like, I got my 5 guys.
Yeah.
By the way, before I forget, today is the 31st anniversary of Buster Douglas's upset of Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah, I thought I saw something about that today.
Yeah, people were talking about it. It's like, I'll never forget, I was 13, Rich, I'm a year older than you. I was going the first and only time I ever went skiing. We went up the mountains, and we drove up on a Friday night. We were going to ski on Saturday, and we were going to drive home on Sunday. And we were up in the mountains, and we didn't have HBO up there, which the fight was on. And, me and two of the guys that were staying at the cabin, we were going to watch, the news. We were looking for the local news, and hopefully they'd have sports to see the Mike Tyson result. And we're sitting there, and we're falling asleep. We're literally like, our eyes are drooping, and oh, come on, and they're talking this bullshit. Finally, we're like, you know what? Tyson knocked him out in 90 seconds. Let's just go to bed. So we go to bed. The next morning, it was on the radio, and my friend's father had heard it, and he came in and said, Mike Tyson got knocked out last night. We're like, get the fuck out of here. And we're driving, we're listening on the way home. Now, I had my mom and my uncle tape it for me. This is back in the VHS days, right? So they tape it for me.
I got a VHS.
Now, me,
to this day, I still
when I would tape fights, I would tape it when the fight was starting. Maybe the intros, and then the start of the fight. Now, I, being cheap, not having a whole lot of blank tapes, I grabbed the tape that I had like a movie on and some music videos and some other bullshit, thinking this fight's going to be 90 seconds. All I'm going to really need is maybe 30 minutes of, space on there. And when I get the video, I saw that it was all the way rewound. I'm like, oh my God, we ran out of video. I'm like, oh my God. So now I ran up to another VCR because I didn't want them seeing me fast forward through like this movie and these music videos. They're like, what the hell is this shit? You better not cut into this fight. So my aunt, my uncle, and my mom started taping as soon as the broadcast started. So we're watching all of like the talking, and Buster Douglas talking about his mom, and Mike Tyson about his training and all this and all that. Finally, we get to the ring, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, every round is passing. I'm like, oh my God, watch this tape end right now, and I'm going to get crucified. And it actually did end right after the Buster Douglas interview. So I was lucky. I was spared getting stabbed. But we just remember watching, and we're like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. It was like, the guy that was like invincible, was invincible. He was vulnerable. And then like little things like, and then things that made sense. It's like, oh my God, you go back and you look at his fight like with Bone Crusher Smith, when he let Smith clinch him and hold him the whole time. And then he got wobbled at the very end of that fight, the fight against Tony Tucker, when he got wobbled in the first round. And, and then you're thinking like his fight against Frank Bruce won, obviously, because they don't fought him one time at that time, but where he looked it was his first fight without Kevin Rooney, and he looked real lethargic and he looked sloppy. And then you think, okay, he beat Spinks in '88, and then he'd only fought, really, 5 rounds or 6 rounds in 2 years, because he had a 5-round fight with Frank Bruno, and then he knocked out Carl the Truth Williams in 90 seconds the previous summer. So he was rusty. He was ready to be taken. He was knocked down in sparring. Everything then made sense to what happened, and the cataclysmic fall of Mike Tyson came crumbling down.
Yep. And, it was kind of a tragic story of Buster Douglas. He really couldn't hold on to that momentum. Ballooned up quite a bit, too, after that fight. Still, he's a very big guy, very fat guy. Got a lot of weight on him, but seems to be in good health. Doesn't seem like he's dealing with any major issues.
Holyfield, you could tell he didn't come in shape on that one. He came in, terribly out of shape, and he got knocked out in 3 rounds, and then he disappeared for years. And so still, when his weight really ballooned up, he was up to 400 pounds. He was in a diabetic coma at one point, And the fact that he is, doing better now with his life, and that he is, healthy and coherent, so Maybe he only had that one night catching lightning in a bottle, but hey, he's in historic lore for it.
Yeah, he's definitely not going to do the rematch anytime soon. It's one thing he's going to take with him to the grave, that he beat Mike Tyson. No rematches. That's it's crazy that it's been that
Nobody
long
can ever
ago.
take that away from you.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all she wrote for us. Till next week, I'll work on Scully. We'll see if we can get. He's a big star, He's got a lot to do.
I know.
Tough schedule now, but anyway, he's not doing anything televised, so he should be available one of these Thursday nights. But, told you about Bitcoin, by the way. New thing today.
Yeah, I know, I heard.
Uber now is going to get involved in it, just to allow people to transact with them in it. And also MasterCard came out today and said they're going to be introducing it to their payment systems, which would be huge. Borrow a phrase from Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, get in while you can before it gets too expensive. Anyway. Till next week. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Adios.